This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Well, now that our major bulkheads are in, we can start putting in the smaller bulkheads, so we're prepping for that.
And we're hoping to get at least a few of them actually glued in. And then we'll follow up the next week, of course, with getting them all tabbed in. So our goal is in the next 2 weeks, we're going to get all of them in, but we'll see how far we get this week. But we have an important meeting we're going to do in the middle of the week here on Thursday with Bruntons and Schionning, because we have to go over our hybrid propulsion system because there's been some changes, and we're going to go over all those with you as well. But first, let's head over to the lot and we'll get at least some work done before we do that meeting. So off we go.
Today we are temping in our bulkheads in each hull, the separate ones, not the ones that go across. And we're going to soon be gluing them in and then tabbing them also along with the ones that do go across up there in 5 and 6. So this is 10 and this is 7. Now 8 and 9 span across the boat, and we can't put those in until we have brought the diesel engine in and inserted it right here. And so we need enough room to come in with the Bobcat to drop that engine in. So that's why we're not going to put the ones that go across the stern yet. But we can do all the other bulkheads, and there's quite a few up and down the boat. So that's the plan. We're going to get that done, and then we're going to work on that tomorrow. And then we're also going to be pulling all the peel ply off of all these different bulkheads. So there's probably about 20 of those we have to pull peel ply off of, so that'll take up much of today. In order to glass these in tomorrow, we got to pull the peel ply on them. And we love pulling peel ply. It's good that we love it because there's about 600 pieces to go that we have to pull peel ply on over time. Not all today, but you know. Many of them are much smaller. Bulkhead 10. Only have like 12 to go. All right, we've marked our distance up to 2850 in millimeters to where bulkhead 7 goes. And now we're going to temp clamp it in place. Let's tilt her up. You gotta come forward. Yep. Okay, and this is the inside the mark is to this side. Not centered.
Okay.
Are you there?
I am there. I don't know.
That fits in pretty good.
You have a bulkhead 8?
Yeah, well, it doesn't go in because it goes all the way across. And bulkhead 9 goes all the way across, but we have a bulkhead 10 we can clamp in right now. We just need the measurements. Needed a temporary brace on that one because it's pretty tall and the afternoon wind. So we just got a brace that's screwed in down here, clamped up there. I'll just keep it from tipping. We can glass in 7 and 10 here, but before we could glass in 8 and 9 in here, and this is of course after the diesel's in, we need to build a keelson that goes along the bottom of this. Now there's a keelson at the stern where we're at right now, and there's also a keelson at the bow, but we have a little bit more glass work to do up on the bow still, and so we're going to try and get to that glass work today so that we can get bulkhead 0 in there, and because we have to go from 0 to 3 for the keelson that goes in there. So we've got some work to do on that, and that's what we're going to try to get to this week. But for today, we need to finish some glassing up at the bow. There's some reinforcements and such up there that we have to do. Next up on our work on the bulkheads is we actually haven't glassed in just this little bow section right here, and that was because we've got some special work we had to do up here, so we left this section not completed when we did all the rest of the hull. So we're going to do that today. So we're going to glass this in, but first we're going to fix this up with some coving and stuff, so that because there's a piece of fiberglass that has to wrap around the front here besides the ones that go on the side. So we've got to prep this for that with some thickened epoxy, and then we'll go ahead and lay down the sides of this and glass that last piece in. So we'll get all that done today. So we have the first the nose piece and another one up there that goes across. So one goes around the nose and one goes down, and now we got to fill the last piece in, which is right here, and connect these two. We decided to do that front first because we had to put the thickened epoxy in, and we had no real way of getting shade over there because there's a floor beam right here. So we did that one, and then we put the pieces onto it right away before it set up too hard, and that's why we did those first. But this part's mostly under the shade here, so it'll be a lot easier, because even the Sycamore we're using for this part sets up much faster when it's sunny. So because this is very sharp right here, and we didn't want to fill a ton of thickened epoxy to round that off because just more weight, what we're doing is we're just taking the fiberglass down and meeting at the bottom here, and that way there won't be any bridge across that sharp part, causing a void in there. We don't want any voids. So Brian's mixing right now. We're going to do one side of this at a time, again, because it's really warm right now and we don't want it to set up before we're ready. So we're just going to do one side. We'll get it done, get peel ply on it, and then we'll do the other side. Right now we're working on all the small bulkheads into the canoes, but we're going to have to be putting our diesel engine into the starboard hull fairly early in this process, simply because we've got to get the Bobcat to fit in there, and we want to get the rear bulkheads in. And there's some questions have come up from Schionning, because our engine is a little different than some of the other ones that they've designed into some of the other 1520s that are being made out there. They're using a different engine than we are. And so I have a meeting tomorrow with Schionning and Bruntons to go over a lot of things to do with how this engine, how we're going to build the motor mounts into the hulls, how long the compartment for the engine has to be, how tall, the angle of the engine, and which prop we're going to use, and all kinds of stuff. So there's a big meeting tomorrow. But we need to verify something on the transmission of this before that meeting. So we're going to unbox temporarily our Nanni 80 horsepower diesel here. So this is our first look at it. We haven't had this lid off before, so here we go. All right, let's set it down. Hey, it's an engine.
Beautiful.
Got some parts here. Parts is parts. There she is. And the critical area is right down here, the transmission, and that's exactly what I thought. This transmission is straight through the diesel, and that is what I expected it to be, but the plans for the boat that's being built in Australia right now, they're using a Yanmar instead of a Nanni, and that transmission is set at a 7-degree angle where ours is set out straight. So that's going to change some things about how these motor mounts are going to be built, because this whole engine is probably going to get pitched a few degrees. The Nannies can be pitched up to 7 degrees, the entire motor. But just for fun here, we're going to take a measurement of this so I know what the exact length is. We have it from plans, but I want to see for real, right to the end of the furthest out bolt to over, so we'll check that out.
We see 4 or 130 millimeters. Centimeters, goodness. 130 centimeters.
This is the loom, and this goes up to the helm where the gauges are. And this is the main reason that we moved. You have those cutters still?
I do.
That we moved the the engine from. Originally, we were going to be having the engine on the port side, and we moved it over the starboard side later simply because I don't want to order an extra long loom. And so this one should be long enough to reach from where we are on the starboard side here up to the helm, which is going to be about here. So much closer. So this should get to use the standard size loom here instead of paying for an extra. It doesn't really matter which side of the boat that the diesel's on and which side has only the electric motor. This is a good place to head back to the office and talk about our meeting this week with Schionning Designs and Bruntons.
So as we mentioned, we have to get the diesel into the starboard canoe pretty soon, otherwise we can't put the rear bulkheads in. And that means Schionning has to design the motor mount system for our specific hybrid propulsion engine.
In order to accomplish this, Schionning needed to know about our entire diesel hybrid system, from engine all the way to the prop. And Bruntons needed to know some particulars about our propulsion system as well, so that they could design the right EcoStar autoprop layout and sizing for our catamaran.
So we got the two companies, Bruntons from England, Schionning from South Africa, and of course we're in Southern California. So we found a time where we could all get together, early in the morning for me, late in the day for them. And we took a look and discussed the list we have of our desires for our propulsion system. So let's take a look at each one of these desired points. However, we went over some of these in a previous video, which I will link up here or down in the description. So I'm only going to briefly touch on those, but we'll spend a little more time talking about the new additions to our propulsion system. So let's take a look at that whole hybrid setup.
Here are the 10 goals we went over in our desired diesel-electric hybrid propulsion system. Though it may look like we would have to compromise on some of these wishes, we believed we could achieve them all if we could get the right setup. Number 1, while motoring forward, supply at least 100 horsepower to the props for emergency power. Between our single 80 horsepower Nanni diesel engine on the starboard side, with a 25 kilowatt electric motor attached, and our 25 kilowatt electric motor on the port side, we'll get about 100 horsepower total.
Number 2, in reverse, we need efficient stopping power to slow the boat when needed. We use an EcoStar autoprop from Bruntons, which has reversing blades that put the leading edge of the blades in the correct direction for efficient thrust, this time in reverse.
Number 3, drive both props from one diesel engine for long-distance cruising. As mentioned in number 1, the diesel turns the electric motor on the starboard side, which sends 12 kilowatt to the electric motor on the port side. This is enough to achieve cruising speed, so both props are turning, which means we don't have to use the rudders to offset the turn from just one prop spinning.
Number 4, we need to drive both props from the electric propulsion. We have a 25 kilowatt electric motor in each hull, so when we have enough battery power, we can power both props from our electric motors.
Number 5, have efficient thrust whether the diesel or electric is turning the same prop. Diesel engines run at a higher RPM than an electric motor, but we have both attached to the same prop shaft and prop. The only way to have both work efficiently is to pitch the prop blades differently for the engine versus the motor. Fortunately, the Bruntons EcoStar Autoprop will do just that, since the blades change pitch automatically based on RPM.
Number 6, we need to regenerate power while sailing from one or both props being turned by the passing water. The combi system is made to do regeneration. It'll let your props turn from passing water. They then turn the electric motors, and we get power sent to the batteries from wind.
Number 7, have the props be efficient for regeneration. Since the EcoStar Autoprops adjust their blades automatically, they're well suited for efficient regeneration.
Okay, so now let's talk about the additions to our system since we made that other video.
Number 8, use the diesel as a 12 kilowatt generator as we're motoring or at anchor. The issue here was that the diesel was always going to turn the shaft if it was in gear to turn the combi electric motor. That means we could use it as a generator, but only when underway. We want to use the diesel and electric motor combo as a generator while we're at anchor as well. For that, we would need a way to disengage the prop shaft where the electric motor belt is attached. I talked to Combi about this a few months ago, and they designed a new magnetic decoupler system that does just what we need at the push of a button from the helm. Now, you shouldn't run a diesel without a sufficient load on it, but that's taken care of by our 25 kilowatt motor being turned by the diesel when we're in generator mode.
Number 9, cut down on vibration from a straight shaft setup. Straight shaft systems are known for having more vibration than sail drives. But if we add a Bruntons Sigma drive between the shaft and the prop, we can cut down on that vibration. And if there's any flex in the boat or motor mounts, the Sigma drive allows for 3 degrees of movement, which takes the strain off the gearbox.
Number 10, feather the props for less drag, unless, of course, we're regenerating. We needed a solution that would allow our EcoStar props to feather. To make that happen, the shaft must be stopped and prevented from further turning. Otherwise, the water will turn the props and the blades will deploy and cause drag. We needed to find a prop shaft brake that will allow us to stop the shaft. Bruntons makes such a brake, and it's called the Auto Lock. Unfortunately, it's designed to work on a diesel-only boat. It consists of a brake rotor, a caliper, and an actuator. The actuator is tied to the diesel by oil pressure. While there's pressure, the actuator unlocks the shaft, and when there's no oil pressure, it locks the shaft automatically. But with our hybrid electric motors, that means when the diesel is off, the shaft is locked, so we couldn't use our electric motors. The solution I came up with is to purchase just the brake rotor and caliper from Bruntons, but not their actuator. The auto-lock caliper is actuated by a cable. All we need to do is purchase a set of cable throttles. Normally, these are used to pull a cable attached to a carburetor, but instead, we'll have the cable pull the caliper closed on the brakes. Now, we can stop either or both shafts using the 2 throttle levers. That way, if we want to regenerate from just one prop, we can lock the other one. Or if we want to sail with less drag, we lock both and the autoprop blades will feather. David at Bruntons was happy to sell us just the rotor and caliper and agreed my solution should work just fine.
So, by adding these additional mechanisms, we can achieve all our goals without major compromises. Here's the layout for the starboard side, which has the diesel. It's the most complex, though the electric system on the port side still needs the Sigma drive, Auto Lock, and EcoStar prop, but does not need the magnetic decoupler. But let's take a look at the diesel side and where all these systems are located.
And this is the Nanni diesel in blue, with its gearbox. Then, there's the 25 kilowatt combi electric motor shown in green, with custom combi brackets shown in silver. These attach to the motor mounts to hold it in place. A belt goes from the electric motor to the prop shaft.
Next, the magnetic decoupler from the combi sits on the shaft under the motor, shown here in gold.
Heading further aft along the prop shaft is a Sigma drive from Bruntons. This is shown in dark blue. Finally, aft of that on the prop shaft is the rotor and caliper from Bruntons Autolock system.
Though it isn't shown here, the EcoStar prop is at the end of the prop shaft.
During the meeting, Robert from Schionning showed us the design from another Solitaire 1520 being built in Australia.
But they use a Yanmar diesel engine with a different gearbox and a smaller electric motor. In their design, the prop shaft is attached to the hull with this skeg.
However, David from Bruntons pointed out that their autoprop blades need space to flip around, and might have problems with that skeg design. He suggested to changing to P-brackets to hold the prop shaft, and I agreed. Bruntons offered to supply those brackets for our system, and I accepted.
So that's our very configurable, efficient diesel-electric propulsion system for SV Lynx.
Now Schionning Designs and Bruntons are working together on the design for our motor mounts and the prop and how far it is from the hull and how far from the rudders and the angles and all that good stuff. So they're doing a little back and forth and working out a design that works for both. And they'll get that to us soon, and we need that because we can't put those bulkheads in at the stern until we build the motor mounts, and until we get those plans from Schionning, we can't do that. So speaking of working, let's go ahead and go back to the lot because we still have a couple days worth of work and we've got a lot to get accomplished this week. See you there.
It's Saturday, end of the week, and we've accomplished a lot of things this week on getting our smaller bulkheads in. But we didn't show you tons of that simply because we were pulling peel ply off all these different bulkheads. One's way down there, the ones are in there, the ones are in this pile here. A lot of work pulling all that peel ply, but that would have been boring, so we only showed you a little bit of that. And we had a lot of prep work inside the hulls because we had to rough up parts of the hull to mount these in and stuff. And again, the sanding, so we didn't show you a lot of that. But we had a lot to talk about with our hybrid propulsion system since we had our big meeting with Bruntons and Schionning about that. And it seems like that's an odd thing to be doing right now, but it isn't, because we've got to create those motor mounts inside. Actually, it's not this hull. The motor mounts over on the starboard side. And for that, we need the plans. And to have the plans, we had to settle on all the different parts of that propulsion system. So that's why I went over all that with you guys a few minutes ago. But today, we're done with prep, and so we're going to get started glassing in some of the bulkheads. And by the end of next week, we're going to have all of these in. So we're going to start out and do bulkhead number 10 and bulkhead number 7. Remember that 8 and 9 are going in later after we put the diesel engine in, which is why we've got to get that engine work progressing. But we'll put in 10 and then we'll put in 7, and then on both sides. And then next week we'll go ahead and put in the ones going on forward. So that's what we're up to today. We'll show you that. First things first, Brian's going to roughen up the hull and with some 80 grit sandpaper there so that we can start bonding that bulkhead number 10 in. All right, so we're got this in place and we're sticking the cove on the side here so that it'll be ready to tab in later. Brian's got like 85 hands there that he's got to hold stuff with. He's an octopus.
The girls say.
Okay, number 10 is in. We'll get the level out, make sure. We already leveled it once, but we'll level it again, assuming I don't kick it right now getting over here. I did not. Let's take a look at where we're at. Zero. That's what we want. All right, so we got our cove in, and I've double checked the level on it. We're good to go there. Do a quick test. Don't bang that on the way by. We already prepped 7 here to go in, so we're gonna go ahead and put our bead here for 7 and get it positioned. It goes actually about here. And so Brian's mixing up. We're gonna need a lot more epoxy. We used 900 milliliters over there. We're gonna need more like 1200 for this. It's a lot larger. As I mentioned, we're trying to get 10 and 7 in today on both hulls, but next week, our goal is to get the rest of them done, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in both hulls. So that's 10 of them. But we're going to get 4 of them done today. And so we have all next week to get those other 10 in, and of course, tab all of them. And the tabbing will go pretty fast because we've already prepped for it. As we're gluing these in, we've already prepped, sanded for tabbing. And bulkheads will already be leveled like they are, like this one is, and glued in, so we can just go to town on tabbing. So we should really be able to get all of these bulkheads in, which are, from a tabbing standpoint, 10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So lots to do between the next 5 days of work, but we want to get that done because the next thing we're going to do after this is build a cabin roof. And we're really looking forward to getting to that. And that includes the rain catchment system. And I believe that that will take us, the most time in getting that thing built will be the rain catchment system. That's going to be the most work, but it's worth it to me because we get that handhold and that recessed track that's easy to clean out. It's just a lot nicer. So it's worth that extra work. And then the other thing that's going to take time is setting up the MDF forms and getting them all perfectly leveled everywhere before we build the roof on them. That'll actually take more time than building the roof. Building the roof is pretty darn easy with just 5 pieces that we have to tab together on 1 sheet of laminate, not over the whole thing, just down the center. So it's pretty easy to build the roof. It's just that the rain catchment system is going to take a little more work than that. So, but we added that. If we were just had to do the roof the way it was originally designed, this thing would be done in a couple days. But it'll take a little longer because of the rain catchment system. But we want it. All right, time to glue in bulkhead number 7. Okay, that's the initial bead in, so we'll be able to set this on, and then Brian's mixing another one so that we can put the cove on either side once we get it in place. So we'll wait a moment. This won't set up that fast. It's pretty cool today. We're about 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is in Celsius. And but this West System epoxy, which is great for this stuff because we want it to set up fairly rapidly. We don't want to wait forever for this epoxy to get going. So we want to use West System for this, but It also means we do have a clock on it of probably about 30 minutes that we've got to have this bulkhead on here. But it'll only take Brian about 5 more minutes to mix up another batch for the cove, so we're good. Okie dokie. Let's go up. Pretty high up so it gets past, yeah. Now down. Ooh. It starts getting more interesting. Trying to go down at the same time as you. We're about the same amount down. Start doing it if we feel like it. How's that? Just a little in the corner right there. Okay. That went well. I say it looks nice. Very good. All right. Now we just got to check the levels on everything. We leveled it when we put the first bead down, but that was only pretty good, meaning we're going to double check it down to the tenths of degrees now. Make sure that it's nice and in position before this sets up. Dead level. Walk away. Actually put some clamps on it, make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. There's no wind today at all, so it's a good day to do this because I don't have to worry about the wind gust suddenly moving this before this sets up. But being wet system in another 30 minutes to maximum of an hour, this is going to be set up enough that this isn't going to move at all. You know, for example, over here, just check this. Yeah, that is now the consistency of Jello already, and this has only been 30 minutes or so. So another 30 to 40 minutes, this will be very solid. But even now it's not going to move because it's set up enough that it's holding it. Of course I don't want to hit it with something, but it's just not going to move easily right now. And so we got the cove there, and cove on that side, and a cove on this side. So bulkheads 7 and 10 are in. Well, they're glued in. We're going to be doing the tabbing next probably Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to be tabbing all of these bulkheads. Right now we're going to concentrate on just getting them all in there glued. This is why we wanted to use wet system epoxy, because we just went to lunch and this is already hard as a rock here. So this is fully glassed, well, fully glued in and not going anywhere. Neither is 7. This is also completely set up over here. So now we don't have to worry about this falling over at this point or anything there if we touch it. So good to go. So we're going to go to the opposite hull over on the starboard side and do the same thing, 10 and 7. Over to the starboard hull, and this is where 10 goes. We've roughed it all up, we've cleaned it, ready to put it in, and we dry fitted it, of course, to make sure that it fits properly. And so we're going to drop 10 in, and then as soon as that's done, we're going to do 7 up in front there. And that's our goal of the day, is to get 7 and 10 done on both, and we're going to achieve it. Things are going well. It's exciting to be building the assembly of the boat. I don't care what it is, bulkheads, webs in the floor, eventually furniture, any of that stuff that is constructing the boat is fun for me to do, because Every step is one day closer to us getting out on the water, and we're very excited to do that. Got a lot of learning to do between now and then. So we're cooking. I gotta go. I can do it from in here on this little guy, number 10. Okay.
Are you on the?
I'm totally centered on my marks.
Okay, down.
Okay, but what we don't know is if it's level.
Right.
Grab that. Thank you. Oops. We are level, so that line's way off.
How about the top?
Perfectly level. All right, we're gooping up the stern side of this now. Look at it smoking like a...
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay, that's level. And that's good. All right. If you wonder what it's like using a fast curing epoxy in the heat, and we're not in direct sunlight, I don't know if you can see it, but it's literally smoking hot. It's too hot to touch right now. It's only about 70 degrees Fahrenheit right now, this in Celsius. Not a hot day, and this is in the shade and there's a gentle breeze. So it's as cool as it really can be, but it's just, there's quite the thermal reaction on this stuff. So it literally gets smoking, and this isn't that thick. If it was in the cup, it would be even crazier, but just the way it is. Nothing we can really do about this. The temperature is correct for doing epoxy, and we're not in the sunlight, so it is what it is, but it is smoking. All right, well, it's this warm. Brian's gonna keep mixing while I get this first batch on, because we gotta get 3 batches done for this larger bulkhead, and we don't want it to set up too fast. Well, that concludes our work at the lot for this week, because we achieved our goals. We got all the peel ply off. We got prep done on both holes for the bulkheads, and we started gluing in the first 4 bulkheads. So next week we'll do the other 8, and that'll go easily because, again, we've already prepped for it all and got all the peel ply off. So that's going to be Monday morning. We'll start gluing those babies in, and we'll get 4 done per day easily. So 2 days and we'll have all of them glued in, and then 3 more days we'll have them all tabbed in. So that's our goal by the end of next week, that all of the small bulkheads are tabbed in. Oh, actually, including Big Bertha number 6 and number 5 that we put across before, because we haven't tabbed those, and we'll tab those as well. So we're going to see you next week for that. But right now I'm going to toss it back to my house, and the Admiral and I will do a little wrap up.
Well, we did it. We got all of the smaller bulkheads prepped, and we even got 4 of them glued into the boat.
Right, and we've also got some other things done as well for that, in sanding of the inside of the hulls and stuff, ready to tab in all of these. And because we got this far this week, that means that next week we're going to be able to get all of them tabbed in. So we'll have all the small bulkheads tabbed in. And the only ones that'll be left are those 2 at the stern, which can't go in until we have the engine, which is why we had that big meeting that we showed you with Schionning to go over the design of our engine, our hybrid system, how the props work, and Bruntons will take care of that for us. But as you can see, that is a pretty complex system, and complex isn't a good word when it comes to boats. You know, KISS is the way to go there, the keep it simple, stupid. But we have a list of goals that we need to achieve with that engine. And the only way to achieve those was to add those various different mechanisms in there. So we're going to have to live with that because it does now do everything that we want it to do. So thank you all for watching this week's video. We do appreciate all of you who take your time to view our videos.
Absolutely. And thank you especially to our patrons listed here. We appreciate you so much. And as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
Yeah. And that next video is going to be finishing up those various bulkheads. So we'll see you then. And after that, I also want to mention we have something really exciting coming, but you'll hear about that in the next video. See you then.
Goodbye.